At first glance, it might seem impossible to imagine any connection between Albert Einstein and the Buddha. 1. A legendary physicist whose theories reshaped our understanding of space and time. The other, a spiritual master whose teachings on inner peace and enlightenment have guided millions across centuries. What could a man of science and a man of spirit possibly have in common? But don't be so quick to judge, because what you're about to discover may just shift your perspective forever. Albert Einstein once said, "I am a devout non-believer in religion. However, Buddhism is the only religion that could effectively address the demands of contemporary science." Let that sink in. Einstein, a man rooted in logic, mathematics, and scientific inquiry, saw something in Buddhism that stood apart from traditional religious doctrines. In his own words, he believed Buddhism had all the makings of a universal path for the future, a way of living that could speak to both the spiritual and the scientific mind. To him, Buddhism was not about worshipping a personal god or clinging to fixed dogmas. Instead, it offered a religious feeling, one born from the direct experience of both the natural and spiritual realms as a unified whole. It transcended theology, avoided rigid doctrines, and embraced the mysterious yet observable universe. In short, it resonated with the very essence of scientific exploration. Einstein recognized Buddhism as more than just a religion. He saw it as a philosophy of life, a holistic worldview that encouraged a balance between logic and intuition, between the laws of nature and the silence of meditation. In a world increasingly shaped by scientific and technological advances, this unique approach offered something deeply refreshing: the possibility that spirituality and science could not only coexist, but inform and elevate each other. And when Einstein presented his general theory of relativity, he didn't just offer the world a set of equations, he opened a new chapter in humanity's understanding of the cosmos. His discovery that space and time are interwoven and relative to the observer was revolutionary. The famous formula E=mc² wasn't merely theoretical, it demonstrated the profound unity between matter and energy. That unity echoed a deeper philosophical insight that both Einstein and the Buddha seemed to grasp: everything is interconnected. Yet Einstein was more than a scientist. He was also a profound thinker, a philosopher, a seeker. His mind was constantly reaching beyond the boundaries of known science, looking for a way to reconcile the material and the metaphysical, the external universe and the inner one. His understanding of religion wasn't based on blind faith, but on a deep reverence for the structure, harmony, and mystery of the cosmos. It was this ability to walk the line between the observable and the invisible that made Einstein such a rare and remarkable figure. He embodied a never-ending thirst for truth, not just in the lab but in life itself. And in that sense, he found an unlikely but powerful kinship with the Buddha. Because while Einstein explored the mysteries of the universe through mathematics and physics, the Buddha charted a path through the universe of the mind. His teachings invited humanity to awaken to its own limitless capacity for awareness, clarity, and transformation. So, what happens when the insights of a modern scientific genius meet the timeless wisdom of an ancient sage? While Einstein searched the vast cosmos for answers to the mysteries of space and time, the Buddha turned his focus inward, toward the mind, the heart, and the true nature of consciousness. Their directions differed, but their methods bore striking similarities. Both approached their inquiries with a scientific mindset. Einstein used mathematics and physics to explore the universe, while the Buddha relied on mindful observation, deep reflection, and personal experience to understand the human condition. But where Einstein sought comprehension of the external world, the Buddha sought liberation from the internal cycle of suffering and rebirth, what Buddhism calls samsara. The Buddha firmly believed that knowledge should not be accepted blindly. He encouraged his followers to test everything through their own experiences. Only accept what proves true in practice. He taught, this spirit of personal verification mirrors the foundations of the scientific method. And it was through this method, of testing, observing, and refining, that the Buddha ultimately attained the deep wisdom he had been searching for. Einstein also stressed the importance of values, but he rejected the idea that morality must come from fear of punishment from a divine being or the hope of a reward after death. In his view, ethics should not be tied to theology. Instead, they should come from compassion, understanding, and a sense of shared responsibility. He warned that if people are only kind because they fear consequences, then humanity's moral foundation is weak and hollow. It is depressing to think that the only thing holding people back is fear of punishment or hope for reward. Einstein once said, "For him, true ethics are built on human understanding, not divine command." Although Einstein did not believe in a personal God, he still felt a deep admiration for the beauty and structure of the universe. He made it clear that while he didn't subscribe to traditional religion, he was not entirely without spiritual feeling. In fact, he once said, "If there is anything religious about me, it is an unbounded admiration for the structure of the world, so far as our science can reveal it, rather than a God who watches over human behavior and intervenes in the world." Einstein believed in what he called Spinoza's God. This idea, inspired by the Dutch philosopher Baruch Spinoza, views God not as a person, but as nature itself, the totality of everything that exists. In this view, God is not separate from the universe but as the universe, energy, matter, consciousness, laws of physics, galaxies, even life and thought. In Spinoza's universe, there is nothing supernatural or outside of nature. Everything, including spiritual experiences, if they are real, is part of the same natural order. Buddhism, interestingly, holds a parallel view. It teaches that the universe operates according to 5 natural laws, known as the 5 niyamas. Karma, or cause and effect, is just one of them. The Buddhist view sees the world not as the product of a creator God, but as the result of countless interdependent causes and conditions. Everything happens for a reason, shaped by forces constantly in motion. Einstein was clear in his writings that while he did not believe in a personal God, he was not an aggressive atheist either. He distanced himself from those who were passionate about fighting religion, what he called professional atheists. Often, he believed that passion was the result of emotional wounds from childhood indoctrination, rather than thoughtful understanding. Instead, Einstein preferred humility, a quiet acknowledgement of the limits of human knowledge, and a respect for the mystery that still surrounds us. This is where he and the Buddha aligned most deeply. The Buddha also rejected the idea of an all-powerful creator God, and instead walked the middle way, a path that avoided extremes, embraced balance, and taught that truth must be discovered, not dictated. And so, we see it even more clearly now. Einstein and the Buddha, 2 extraordinary minds, reaching toward truth from different directions, yet meeting at the same profound insight, that the universe is vast, interconnected, and full of mystery, and that wisdom comes from exploring both the world around us and the one within. As we continue our journey into the minds of Einstein and the Buddha, a deeper philosophical layer begins to unfold. Their ideas challenge not only how we perceive the universe, but how we understand ourselves within it. The Buddha rejected both eternalism, the belief in an everlasting, unchanging soul, and materialism, the view that only physical matter exists. These were radical positions for his time, and they set him apart from many early philosophers. Remarkably, Einstein's views echoed this same middle ground. He never subscribed to rigid beliefs about the self or the soul. Instead, he acknowledged the limits of human knowledge and approached the mysteries of existence with humility. Einstein once said, "A human being is part of the whole, called by us, universe, a part limited in time and space." He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. What a powerful image. This illusion, he explains, acts like a mental prison. It confines us to our personal desires and to our attachments to those nearest to us. But here's the challenge he offered. We must free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living beings and the whole of nature in its beauty. Although no one can fully escape this illusion, Einstein believed that striving toward this broader compassion was the key to liberation, a principle strikingly aligned with Buddhist philosophy. This mirrors the middle way taught by the Buddha, which avoids the extremes of eternalism and nihilism. Instead, it focuses on interdependence and the cultivation of compassion that transcends the self. For the Buddha, liberation wasn't about clinging to beliefs, but about freeing the mind, purifying perception, and living with awareness of our interconnected reality. Einstein also challenged how we think about science itself. He once said, Physical concepts are free creations of the human mind, and are not, however it may seem, uniquely determined by the external world. This statement reveals a profound truth. The natural world exists independently, governed by its own laws. But the way we interpret, name, and understand it, those scientific models and theories, are our inventions. They are shaped by observation, reasoning, imagination, and constantly evolve over time. Einstein understood that science isn't static. It grows, adapts, and changes as our understanding of the universe deepens. There is no final, unchanging answer, only an ongoing journey of discovery. Amazingly, 2.500 years earlier, the Buddha expressed a remarkably similar thought. He taught that concepts such as cause and effect, sequence, atoms, and fundamental elements are not ultimate truths. They are mental constructs, projections of the mind. According to the Buddha, the self is not a fixed or rational entity. It is an illusion, an emotion, a fleeting impression, no more real than a dream. Awareness itself is a form of mental activity, and believing in a permanent self keeps us trapped in confusion and suffering. This illusion, the Buddha said, prevents humanity from reaching true freedom. He called it anatta, or non-self. Einstein referred to it as a delusion of consciousness. Though they used different language, both men pointed to the same idea, that our deepest suffering arises when we mistake temporary thoughts and emotions for a permanent identity. To escape this prison, the Buddha offered a clear path, the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. These teachings guide one to purify the mind, reduce craving, and live with wisdom and compassion for all beings. For the Buddha, desire and attachment are the root causes of suffering and the reason we remain imprisoned in illusion. Einstein expressed a similar belief when he observed that we limit our love and care only to those closest to us. True compassion, he said, must expand beyond those narrow boundaries. Only then can we begin to break the cage of illusion and experience a deeper connection with the universe. In one of his most reflective quotes, Einstein wrote, "The most beautiful and profound experience is the sensation of the mystical. It is the source of all true science. He to whom this emotion is a stranger, who can no longer wonder and stand wrapped in awe, is as good as dead." For Einstein, wonder was not a weakness, it was the very heartbeat of discovery. And for the Buddha, wonder was not just in the stars, but in the silence of the mind, the stillness of breath, and the compassion we offer others. So where do these two paths ultimately lead? To understand that, we must look even deeper into the essence of suffering, the illusion of permanence, and the shared longing of every human being to awaken from the dream and be free. Einstein once described a deeply moving awareness that lies at the heart of true religious experience, not rooted in dogma or theology, but in awe. He spoke of a sense that something far greater than ourselves truly exists, revealing itself as the highest wisdom and the most radiant beauty, though our limited senses can only grasp its reflection in simple, primitive forms. For Einstein, this feeling, this reverence for the grand order of nature, was the essence of real spirituality. It wasn't about belief, but about seeing, and in that way, it wasn't so far from what the Buddha taught. Despite Einstein's immense intellect and lifelong dedication to understanding the universe, he humbly admitted that human intelligence is still far from grasping the full depth of reality. Yet, he never ceased to marvel at the beauty, order, and mystery woven into every corner of the natural world. To him, this quiet acceptance, this wonder without complete understanding, was what he called authentic religiosity. This approach echoes in a story from the Buddha's life. One of his students once asked, "Lord Buddha, how vast is the universe?" The Buddha replied calmly, "Does knowing the size of the universe help you escape suffering?" When the student admitted that it did not, the Buddha said, "Then why concern yourself with what does not free you?" This moment captures a key difference in focus. While modern thinkers often search for the origins of existence, the Buddha guided people back to the root of their personal suffering. For him, the urgent task was not to explain the universe's dimensions, but to heal the human heart. Buddhism teaches that the universe is a vast, endless cycle of cause and effect, without a clear beginning, but always renewing itself in different forms and eras. The point is not when or how it started, but how we live within it. The message shared by both Einstein and the Buddha is this: Free yourself from needless constraints. Expand your mind, expand your compassion, and focus deeply on what truly matters, understanding the causes of suffering and finding a path beyond it. To illustrate this, the Buddha once told a powerful parable, the story of the poisoned arrow. Imagine a man struck by such an arrow. His friends rush to find a healer who can save him. But instead of receiving help, the man demands answers. Who shot the arrow? What was their caste? What was the bow made of? What kind of poison was used? Before he gets his answers, he dies, never having allowed the healer to save him. The Buddha used this story to teach that life is short, and suffering is real. Delaying peace by obsessing over unknowable details only keeps us trapped. Our priority should be removing the arrow, solving the real problem, rather than getting lost in speculation. British philosopher Bertrand Russell, a known skeptic of religion, once made a striking admission: of all the religious founders in the world, I respect the Buddha the most, because he did not concern himself with the beginning of the world. In Russell's view, the Buddha was the only teacher who truly understood the nature of existence, not through mythology, but through insight. Today, more and more scientists and psychologists are turning their attention inward, toward the study of consciousness, perception, and the human mind. In Western medicine and therapy, ancient Buddhist techniques like mindfulness, breath meditation, and compassion-based practice are being embraced. The gap between science and Eastern wisdom is growing smaller. And perhaps, in the future, we'll see more brilliant minds like Einstein, individuals capable of bridging this gap fully. Scientists who, like the Buddha, seek not only truth, but liberation. Thank you so much for watching this far. If you found this journey into the minds of Einstein and the Buddha meaningful, please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support allows us to keep exploring the fascinating intersections between science, spirituality, and timeless wisdom. Let's keep growing together toward clarity, compassion, and deeper understanding.